Good afternoon and welcome to the May 20th Finance Committee meeting. If you are joining us online, please mute your devices unless you would like to speak on an item, and then please use the raised hand icon, and Jennifer will call on you to speak at the appropriate time. If you're joining us here in person, if you would make sure that your cell phones are on manners mode, please. And when you approach the podium, make sure to turn on the microphone and identify yourself. Hopefully all of you had lunch or something to eat before you came, because we're going to settle in for what could be a long afternoon. So thank you for joining us, and we look forward to a long meeting with you. So, okay. So Jennifer, first item.
Number 17, ordinance third reading, amending and updating the solid waste fee schedule in accordance with section 8.44.010 of the municipal code of the city of Cheyenne, Wyoming, and repealing ordinance number 4503.
Staff report.
Vicki Nemechek, Public Works. I don't have anything new on this ordinance. Again, I'll just go through the increases. Residential garbage and recycle will be increased by 1%. Commercial garbage, municipal solid waste, 3%, commercial recycling, 5%, landfill gate, 3%, transfer station, 2%, roll-offs, 3%, and yard waste, 1%. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, any questions from committee?
Madam Chair, through you
Councilman Johnson?
to Vicki.
White, sorry. It's going to be a long day.
Thanks to that,
Monday. Sorry.
You don't look anything alike.
don't we?
Oh,
Just-
the glasses. That's what it is.
Yeah, just, it's the glasses. Vicki, just a quick question, and I know you talked about this when it was introduced, but these proposed increases are keeping in line with the study that was done several years ago, which was designed to keep us up to date regarding costs, correct?
Yes, through you, Madam Chair. This is a 10-year plan that we're required to do a study each 10 years. It's called the Integrated Solid Waste Management Plan, and it's basically a financial plan for the future. And yes, we are following that plan as they required us to do in 2019.
Thank you.
Any other questions from committee? Okay, any public comments? Seeing or hearing none, I would entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, I move to approve on third and final reading. Second.
Okay, we have a motion from Councilman White and a second from Councilman Johnson. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, this item will move forward with a recommendation to approve at the next meeting of the governing body. Next item.
Number 18, ordinance third reading, amending sections 10.82.030 and 10.82.040 of the municipal code of the city of Cheyenne, Wyoming, modifying the term of dockless vehicle licenses, specifying an effective date, and making other conforming amendments.
Staff report, Mr. Brody.
Madam Chairman, John Brody, City Attorney's Office. Nothing to report on any changes to this ordinance. This is just a stopgap measure to allow permits to continue to be issued while the city reevaluates the dockless vehicle regulations and potentially moves to an RFP process.
Thank you. Any questions from committee? Okay, any public comments? Hearing or seeing none, I would entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, I move to approve on third and final reading.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilman White and a second by Councilman Johnson. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, and this item will move forward with a recommendation to approve at the next council meeting. Next item.
Number 19, ordinance second reading, approving and establishing revised water and sewer rates, tap and system development fees, administrative fees, service charges and penalties, and septic and commercial waste dump rates as recommended by the Board of Public Utilities.
Okay, staff report, please.
Yes, good morning, Madam Chair, Finance Committee members, Brad Brooks, Director for BOPU. What you have before you is our ordinance for our annual rates and fees for the Board of Public Utilities for the next coming year, fiscal year 2025. This is the rates recommended by our rate consultant, FCS, which I think a lot of you have met individually. Some of those they spoke at our work session. They are the rates that they are recommending for this next fiscal year. Also, I would just let you note as well, last year, I know there was a question on just how do we get this information out to our residents. And so Erin Lamb, who is our public relations officer, has done a great job, and she already has a schedule lined out of how we will get this out to everybody. It will be through media releases of social media, and then also on our customer bill. And she'll start doing that all the way this fall until they become effective January 1. With that, I'm going to let Brad Bowen, who's our admin manager, kind of go through the general overview and details, and then we'll be here for any questions that you may have. So thank you.
Thank you.
Board Administration Manager for Cheyenne Board of Public Utilities, Madam Chair and Committee. Our rates that we're proposing is a 10% increase and 8% sewer increase with corresponding increases to the system development fees. The admin fees that we're proposing were reviewed based on actual costs associated with those. The increase is to cover the inflationary costs along with increased cost of construction and to make sure that our construction rehab program maintains on schedule. 3 miles of water lines and 2.5 miles of sewer lines a year. And we're happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions from committee? Councilman White? Oh, sorry. Okay. I did have one question. I just saw, thank you for covering the percentage of increase for residential as well as business on the examples that you provided. And I just want to make sure the water for residential is 10% and sewer is 8%. Is that correct? And I believe that the document showed that the consumer price index was, and it had risen 4.2 to 4.7%.
That is correct.
Okay, thank you. Okay, any questions or comments, public comments?
Madam Chair, Seth Lloyd. In my role today, I believe I'll be representing the Affordable Housing Task Force. There was a recommendation made by the Affordable Housing Task Force, I think it was late 2022, that we defer system development fees until the time of certificate of occupancy instead of at the issuance of building permit to help with cash flow for developers, to make it so that they're paying that fee basically right as soon as they're going to sell the property. This is found in Exhibit C, Section IV. It states, under no circumstance will the city of Cheyenne be allowed to issue a building permit prior to payment of all fees due to the board, including system development fees. This is likely a carryover from previous years. Unfortunately, I didn't know exactly where this was found last year when this came through, but it is there right here in that section. And it's adopted via this action. I don't know if we can change the BOPU.
Could you repeat that?
Sure, it's Exhibit C. So I'm looking at the PDF. It's in page 12 of the PDF. Roman numeral IV under be it further resolved.
On page 3. Yeah, page 3, yep.
Page 3 of Exhibit C, yes.
Thank you.
So it's just noting that that's there in this current version. I don't know if the council has power to override the BOPU if there needs to be further discussions on it, but there was a recommendation of the Affordable Housing Task Force to change that due date, as it were, to issuance of certificate of occupancy as opposed to issuance of the building permit. That's just something to consider. That's all I have, but I'm available for questions if there are any.
Thank you, Mr. Lloyd. Any questions, Mr. Lloyd? Okay, any public comment? Additional public comment? Okay. Hearing none, seeing none, I would entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, I move to approve on second reading.
Okay, we have a motion to approve on second reading.
Second.
There's a second, a motion by Mr. Councilman White, second by Councilman Johnson. Any further discussion?
Madam Chair, through you.
Councilman White?
I know that this just occurred, Brad, but how would, if the city council would, act on that recommendation from the Affordable Housing Task Force, how would that affect, your budget, or are you able to speak to that now? Maybe not. This is only on second reading, so there's still plenty of time for discussion, but if you want to take a crack at it, I'll appreciate
Like
it.
Mr. Strong has an answer.
I will do my best. We have discussed this internally and how it would impact our processes. One of the current concerns we have is it doesn't give us any chance for any checks and balances to make sure all fees are paid during the process. So at this point, we had chose not to revise that process and try to streamline other processes to improve the building permit process.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Councilman Johnson, I don't know why yours is coming up white instead of red. Don't know.
Since I know you guys all have each other's emails, can BOPU work with Seth in regards to the planning and BOPU's cooperation? Thank you.
Okay, any other questions or comments from committee? Okay. We have a motion and a second on the floor. At this time, if we have no further discussion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? This is recommendation from the Finance Committee will be to approve at the next meeting of the governing body. Next item.
Number 25, resolution expressing the support of the governing body for the submission of an application by the Cheyenne Transit Program to the Wyoming Department of Transportation for grant funding under the Wyoming Rural Public Transit Program.
Okay, staff report, please. And it looks like we have Director Jordine online.
Good afternoon, Renee Jordan, Cheyenne Transit. This is our annual request to YDOT to provide us matching funds that we use for our operations for transit. The previous 2 years, we requested 300,000. This year, we are requesting 360,000. This money allows the city to not have to provide that match to us. So this is just kind of an added benefit. And I'm available for any questions.
Thank you. Renee, I do have a question on the resolution I'm looking at. It shows a $300,000 amount was for the fiscal year 2024. I'm not showing anywhere on here where it shows $360,000.
No, 360 is what I'm asking for fiscal year 25.
Okay, then maybe we need to have that somewhere in this document. Okay, any questions from committee for Renee? Okay, any public comment? Okay, I would entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, I move to adopt.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to adopt from Councilman White and a second from Councilman Johnson.
And Madam Chair, through
Yeah.
comment, just to echo what you said, maybe Renee, along with our treasurer's office or Stephanie, could make sure that that amount's correct before it goes to the full governing body next week.
I think it is correct because it's talking about what the previous grant funding was. I just don't think there's anywhere in here that it talks about that. Is
350.
the 360 increase. So
I would agree with that. Maybe it doesn't need to.
maybe we just need another whereas. Okay. Any further comments? Okay, hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed?
No.
Okay, this item will move forward with a recommendation to approve at the next meeting of the governing body. Next item.
Number 26, resolution supporting the submission of an application to the Wyoming Business Council under the Wyoming Business Ready Community Grant and Loan Program for an enhancement grant in support of the development of the Precision Industrial Park.
Okay, staff report.
Good afternoon, Renee Smith, Economic Resource Administrator. Before you is a resolution to submit an application to the Wyoming Business Council in partnership, the city with Leeds, to continue the work for the Precision Industrial Park. Their board has approved $3.4 million to do the preliminary earthwork, which has begun now. And they will also be working, I believe, with BOPU on the water sewer. This portion of the grant will be specifically to continue that work for streets, curbs, gutters, sidewalks. The reason for this grant is what we're finding with our industrial parks is the lack of infrastructure has created a long timeline for the recruitment efforts for businesses coming in. So we've met with Business Council trying to identify ways to kind of speed that process up. So we're trying to help Leeds with this area in their recruitment efforts. And so I am here for questions. I believe, I'm not sure if someone, Leeds is online as well, if you've got questions.
Okay. So are there any questions from committee? I did have one question. It looks like, Renee, that the only match is by Leeds
That is
for this
correct.
grant. Thank you. Any other questions? Hearing none, it looks like we have a public comment from Betsy Hale or a comment from Betsy Hale.
Yes, good afternoon, Madam Chair. I just want to say thank you for your continued support of our work at Cheyenne Leeds. And we've had a lot of people calling us and asking us what the dirt's being moved for out at Cheyenne Business Parkway. And that is for this project just south of the Magpul building along Interstate 80.
And thank you for that clarification, Betsy. Any questions or comments? Hearing none. Oh, go ahead. I would entertain a motion.
I'll make the motion and then I'll make my comment. Madam Chair, I would move to adopt.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to adopt by Councilman White, second by Councilman Johnson. Any discussion? Councilman White.
Madam Chair, just in the memo, it indicates a public hearing will be held on May 27th at 6 p.m. That's should read May 28th. Yes, if you go May 27th, the doors might be locked. So, and I won't be there, but May 28th I will be.
Okay, great. Thank you for that correction, Councilman White. And I'm guessing that we'll have this corrected before Monday. So, any other discussion by committee? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, this item will move forward with the recommendation to approve at the next meeting of the governing body. Next item, please.
Number 30, resolution approving the budget of the Cheyenne Regional Airport Board for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2024 and ending June 30th of 2025.
Okay, staff report.
Hi, Robin Lockman, City Treasurer. Municipal code requires that the Cheyenne Airport Board submit annually a proposed budget for approval by the governing body. Therefore, before you is a resolution requesting your approval of the Cheyenne Airport Regional Airport Board's budget for fiscal year 25. Their proposed budget is $10,807,055.75. Representatives from the Cheyenne Airport Board have been invited today to answer any specific questions you might have. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, any questions from committee? Councilman White.
Madam Chair, through you, just for anyone who wishes to answer, the council has been getting some complaints recently from residents who live along Airport Parkway, and there seems to be some confusion regarding who takes care of what in this particular area. Is it maintained by the airport? Is it maintained by community recreation and events? And, my understanding is that area has always been maintained by or should be maintained by in the agreement and contract by the airport. And so, I would just suggest some better communication between airport and city staff on what needs to be taken care of, because I know the trees in that area have been, we've received a lot of comments from community residents on those and how they've not been maintained. We received comments last week on the drainage area, on how that's not being maintained. So I've always supported the budget for the airport board and will do so today. I hope that these maintenance issues can be cleared up.
Thank you, Councilman White. Is there anyone from the airport that would like to address that? I see somebody's hand in the back, but I'm not tall enough to see who it is. Oh, thank you, Director Bradshaw.
Good afternoon. My name is Tim Bradshaw, and I have the honor and privilege of serving as the Director of Aviation for the Cheyenne Regional Airport. Before I answer your question, I would like to express the heartfelt gratitude of the Airport Board to the City of Cheyenne, City Council, and the staff, especially Tom Cobb, and the taxpayers for funding the improvements to Airport Parkway. You know, oftentimes when people visit our community, the first thing they see is the airport. So we appreciate the $3 million investment you made into the Airport Parkway. While this project has been going on, we have removed 30 trees and we've replaced many sidewalk slabs along the street there. So as soon as this project is wrapped up, we're able to open the sidewalk back up. Again, thank you for your investment in the Airport Parkway. So
you.
I believe that if I'm not reading what we had before, the city is maintaining the road and we maintain the landscaping along the edge of the south side of the road and the north side.
That is our understanding as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Bradshaw. Any other questions? Councilman Johnson?
Yes, sir. Seeing as how this begins on July 1st, and according to your retirement statement, it looked like that was going to be your last day. Can you give us what the plan is for the succession of the airport with your retirement?
Yes, thank you. And I failed to mention that I have Jennifer Nelson here with us, our Director of Finance and Administration. She's the magic behind the numbers that we have in the budget. So I did announce my retirement, but I'm still communicating with the board about continuing on in a role. So there's a couple of projects that I'd like to see finished here in Cheyenne. So that date is now is flexible. So we haven't there. We are ready to go out for advertisement, but again, I'm having discussions with the board about remaining on.
Thank you. Any other questions, Councilman Johnson?
So I guess just a follow-up. So when do you expect it to be advertised for your position and how long do you plan on staying?
The board suspended the search for 30 days, which will take us to the next board meeting scheduled in June. There's a master plan project that we're getting ready to undertake. It's about an 18-month project where we look at the airport, to look at the community and plan our capital needs for the next 5, 10, or 20 years. Also, a lot of individuals in this community were working together to try to repurpose the passenger terminal that's on Evans Avenue there. So those are two projects I'd really like to see come to fruition.
Okay, Councilman Escobar? Okay, I did have two questions. I did want to just know where we're at on the old airport. And also if you could tell me how commercial rental space is being impacted currently, and if what percentage you are of capacity or with your rental space occupied.
Okay, the first is the terminal. We've got a great steering committee group together. We received a DEQ grant, or I'm sorry, National Endowment for the Arts grant. We're applying for a DEQ grant. We've also applied with the FAA for grants funding as well. And then we're talking with private developers about developing the restaurant to form a Cloud 9 in the restaurant. So we're trying to hit it from many different angles to try to find funding for it. Even there's in discussion of possibly about doing a 6-penny ballot for initiative for that. So more to come on that. As far as the commercial space, we're landlords. We have about 70 businesses there on the airport, about 40 buildings. We partnered with Number One Properties to advertise and market our properties. We recently added the Department of Family Services to our business portfolio. We're getting ready to add an engineering firm there as well. So I'd say we're about 85% full in occupancy, but we're always continuing to look for more development at the airport.
I believe the last time that you reported to us, they were undergoing a study to see if the old airport was feasible to reutilize that. And so I'm guessing from your movement forward that you found that it is going to be feasible to develop that or remodel that.
The building assessment came back very positive, and you may recall, we also have the original terminal that was built in the 1920s that was repurposed as well. So the building assessment came back very positive. The thing is, with a 1960s terminal, we'd have to come back and update HVAC, all the things to bring it up to code as far as development in there. So that's where the cost is. The last cost estimate we saw was just to do the core and shell of the building is about 2.3 million.
Great. Well, thank you for your diligence on seeking out grants. Any other questions from committee? Any public comments? I don't see or hear any, so thank you.
Madam Chair, I move to adopt.
Second.
We have a motion from Councilman White and a second from Councilman Johnson. Is there any other discussion from the committee? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, this item will move forward with adopt to the next council meeting. Next item, please.
Number 31, resolution approving the budget of the Cheyenne Downtown Development Authority for fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2024 and ending June 30th, 2025.
Staff report, please.
And Chair, members of the committee, Charles Bloom, Planning and Development Director. This is a resolution that recognizes the Cheyenne Downtown Development Authority's budget for fiscal year 2025. Just recently at the last board meeting, the Downtown Development Authority approved their budget, which is just over $1 million in spending for fiscal year 2025. Most of these expenses are related to the capital improvement grant program, which is encouraging development within the downtown development district. Over the course of 2024, we saw a significant investment in the downtown through the grants program. In 2024, we had close to $600,000 in CIG projects where money was granted to different businesses. Those are many large businesses and large grants that you see in the downtown. It includes places like MHP, which recently won the Leclerc Jones Award, Westby Edge. You have the Downtowner Hotel, you have the Lariat Hotel, having some improvements out there. You also have Alexis Drake and a variety of other ones that were all recipients of grant funding for the capital improvement grant program. That program is a 50-50 match. So for every dollar that the Downtown Development Authority put in, that was another dollar at least that the private investor put in. I know a lot of these programs went well beyond the 50-50 match. Another one I should note is the Children's Museum. They did receive some funding through the Downtown Development Authority for their facade program. In fiscal year 25, we are expecting some funding that will come from outside. We're expecting $5,000 funding from the county commissioners. We will know more of that at the end of this month. We'll also have a grant application that will be considered by the Joint Powers Board tomorrow morning for $20,000 that will go to support the program. Our DDA special district assessment has increased from $387,000 last year for year 2023 to a collection in 2024 that will be distributed over the course of 2025 at $649. That's a pretty significant increase in tax revenue for the downtown. So highlights of this budget, what we're spending the money on. What the DDA board is spending the money on, our sponsorship of events. We work closely with Visit Cheyenne to sponsor a handful of events that bring a lot of folks downtown. And also included in that sponsorship is a shuttle that will transport people from CFD to downtown during those events. We're going to work this year to make sure we continue to get numbers and understand who are using that shuttle and how many people are moving between downtown and the CFD event. We have allocated set aside a small amount, $265,000 of our overall budget for DDA initiated large projects. These could be special projects that could be born out of the plan of development, which is currently being prepared and expected to be complete in October. These could be anything from streetscape enhancements to pocket parks to alley lighting projects, any one of those items. This is a discretionary fund we have set up for the board. So if they wish to do a specific project to improve the downtown, they could move forward with that, provided it's within the scope of their plan of development. We have a line item specifically reserved for sponsorships. These are sponsorships that are outside of the events that Visit Cheyenne hosts. These would be ones for events that downtown businesses may be having that would be attracting the public to come downtown, be downtown and shop. We also have a line item for our downtown planners, which you should be seeing plantings occurring in the next few weeks. The cost for that have increased significantly. Last year, the cost for the planner program was around $25,000. And the consultant that was providing those services, Tank House Nursery, they had indicated that they were actually performing at a loss in the end due to the amount of watering that is required because they have to send someone out daily with a watering truck to go water all of the planters. That has increased to $45,000 for planting. It truly does change the areas of downtown. It's a great program, but it is definitely a hard one to manage because it is very labor intensive, but I believe it's worth it right now. We are continuing to move forward with a facade improvement grant program. This would be a facade program that is more geared to historic preservation. Over the course of the fiscal year 2025, we're looking to change that program to require different levels of match based on whether or not you're conforming with the National Park Service's historic design standards. So if you are restoring a building or bringing a building back to its historical charm, you would be required to bring less of a match to the table. Whereas if you're doing a newer building or a building that doesn't exactly have those types of amenities or visual amenities, you would have a lesser, you'd have a greater grant match requirement. Also several weeks ago, the governing body looked at a resolution in regard to a request for the Downtown Development Authority to create a specific sidewalk match program to identify ADA trip hazards and other hazards that are in the downtown. After that council meeting, the DDA board established a subcommittee, and that subcommittee met, and we have specifically allocated $100,000 for that first phase. We'll be working closely with the engineering office as they identify how that program will look and how it will be implemented. The goal of the DDA is to utilize this grant match as a 50-50 match and to follow priority zones that would be established by the city engineering department. We do look to continue to refine this grant application program. In addition, we're just making a couple of other modifications throughout. I should note that the city of Cheyenne, pending approval of the budget, is contributing approximately $209,000 to the Downtown Development Authority, which funds 2 full-time positions, and it will fund a new half-time position that will focus on social media and marketing of the downtown. I'm open for any questions that you have regarding this item.
Okay, are there any questions from committee? I did have 2 questions for you. One is, how are you educating the downtown business owners about the sidewalk and the facade program available?
Chair, that's a great question. At this time, we have not provided any educational documents to the downtown businesses yet. What we're looking for is to establish with the engineering department the priority zones, and then we can move in and say, this is what we can offer you. I'll be honest, the DDA is going to try to look like the savior, because the initial outreach for someone needing sidewalk repair is supposed to come from the city, and we will respond and say, hey, the city's asked you to do this. This is what we can provide to help you. And I should note that through the capital improvement grant program, which is outside of the sidewalk program, anyone at any time can request a 50-50 grant match program for any public infrastructure repairs or replacement or construction. So that has been posted a couple times on social media and discussed at some of our downtown business collective meetings. But we haven't done specific outreach on it recently.
And that is within the DDA boundary, correct? So we don't start getting phone calls from all over town.
Chair, members of the committee, yes, it would be only
you.
through the DDA boundary.
And my other question was about the planters. I know that we've tried successfully or with limited success to have those adopted by businesses. Have we reapproached businesses about taking on, if they're, once they're planted, taking on the watering of those and maintenance of those?
Chair, members of the committee, there had been early discussions with business owners and trying to reach out to them, but we haven't had any more recently. Last summer, when we did look at those partnerships, participation was hit or miss. A lot of people may come in with a lot of energy to say, yes, we're gonna adopt this plan, or we're gonna water it, but then all of a sudden they might be out of town for a week, or their employees stop doing it, and you don't have that continuity of living planters. They're all of a different quality. So we hadn't moved forward with that, but that is something we can continue to investigate.
And how many planters are we talking for $45,000?
If I recall, 82. Chair, members of committee, it's about, I believe it's 92 planters. And at the last DDA meeting, we did add 8 planters that are not your typical ones above ground. These are the ones on carry, the ones surrounding the trees. Those were added. And the landscaper said they would add those to the existing contract with no additional increase in cost.
So we're looking at about $450 per planter for the season.
Chair, that is accurate.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion, questions from committee? Any public comment? Hearing or seeing none, I would entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, I move to adopt.
Second.
We have a motion from Councilman White, second from Councilman Johnson. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed?
No.
Hey, we have Councilman White and Councilman Escobar voting yes, Councilman Johnson voting no. This item will move forward with a recommendation to adopt the next meeting of the governing body. Next item, please.
Number 32C, professional services agreement between the City of Cheyenne and Landmark Aquatics for the Johnson Pool Evaluation and Design Project, 2021 Specific Purpose Option Tax Fund.
Hey, staff report.
Madam Chair, Jason Sanchez, Community Rec and Events. Today I'm asking for a no recommendation from the Finance Committee on this item. After we put it on the agenda, we discovered a mistake in the proposal. And I would prefer to put a clean version in front of the body on the at the next council meeting. So for today, I'm asking for no recommendation to let this die, and then we'll put a new version in front of you.
Thank you, sir. Any questions? Councilman Escobar?
Sorry.
Oh. Hey, any public comment? Okay, I would entertain a motion or not. Okay, seeing that there is no motion, this item will have no recommendation from the Finance Committee at the next meeting of the governing body. Next item.
Number 32D, professional services agreement between the City of Cheyenne and TPT Trails LLC for the Belvoir Ranch Phase 2 Design Build Trail Project, Belvoir Ranch Recreation Fund.
Staff report, please.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the Finance Committee, Tom Cobb, City Engineer. Before you and for your consideration is, well, we're calling it a professional services agreement between the City of Cheyenne and TPT Trails LLC. It really is a design build. So this is for this is one of 3 phases of the trail system. I got a photo for you. I didn't give it to Jennifer, so I don't.
Thank you.
So just to give you some context, so this on the second page, again, this is phase 2 of 3 phases. Phase 1 is not come in front of you yet. That'll be for the trailhead, the parking lot, the restroom. We're a little bit into the still in the county process for that, as I indicated at the budget meeting. This is phase 2. And if you look at that inset map, it's towards the bottom picture. And if you slide that a little bit to your left, right where the blue starts is where this ends. And if you want to look a little bit closer, sorry, she's going to pull it on the screen. This is what I get for coming back from Texas last night for a 15-hour drive. So sorry about that. No, whichever one you like. The second slide would be great. So the little orange area that I'm showing, this depicts the general location. And again, access is from Harriman Road, and I've tried to indicate that where it would come off into the state section there. Oops. No problem. I think it's my fault, not yours. Okay, so the dot on the screen there at the top where I've identified Harriman Road entry, that's Harriman Road coming down north to south. And then the state section's outlined in the purple. And the bottom section there that I've highlighted in kind of the brown yellowish color, that's basically encompasses that first phase. And it's a little bit to the left there. So if you look, going to be the universal trail. And next slide, please. So then just gives you kind of an indication of how we'll get access, and this will be part of that phase one package. You'll come off the Harriman exit, we'll go through the state section, which is now gray, and then we're gonna build upon the access roads that are currently used by the turbines there that you see in red below the gray. And the trailhead then will be identified there on that far south end, and that'll be basically the point of entry from the universal trail to this phase, just to give you some context. And then the last slide, please. And this then is the actual area of the phase two Belvoir Trail system that's in front of you right today. And we did have a committee comprised of planning and development, community events and recreation, 1% construction and engineering. And we did evaluate this. We had only had one proposal from TPT Trails, Inc. The funding will come from the Belvoir Recreation Fund. And it's a cost not to exceed contract of $219,672.93. And we've set a completion date of November 30th, 2024 for this particular phase of this one. And the rest of the map that you saw would be phase three. We haven't developed a plan for that yet, but if you can go back to that other slide, Jennifer, one. You can see that we totally have about 17.6 miles of trails total. This encompasses 6.5 miles. And with that, I'll have any questions, and we do recommend that you approve this. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any questions from the committee? Councilman Johnson.
Well, thank you for a 51st birthday present for November 30th completion date. And then second, when I brought this up, that we were discussing this in front of the Historic Preservation Board, and I know you had brought it up in a couple of other work sessions we had done, that there was going to be signage in regards to historic and prehistoric features out there, but we really weren't intending to have the trails go out to the site to keep them actually prehistoric, historic instead of, and just kind of offer signage. Is that still the goal we're going with?
Madam Chair, through you to Councilman Johnson. Yes, sir. On this particular phase, there's no particular signage for this one. We'd be looking at the future phases.
Hey, Councilman White.
Hallelujah. I never thought this project would get this close. So this is really good news. And I hope somebody reaches out to Councilman Roybal directly, because I know that he's advocated for this long before I even came on council. So, but yes, this is fantastic.
Any other comments from committee? Okay, any public comment? Okay, hearing or seeing none, I would entertain a motion.
Go ahead. Oh, you want me to do it? All right. Madam Chair, I move to approve an amount not to exceed $219,673.93.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion from Councilman Johnson and a second from Councilman White. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The recommendation from the Finance Committee will be to approve at the next meeting of the governing body. Next item.
Madam Chair, before we move forward, because I had to recuse myself from the next three items on the agenda due to my profession and the fact that I actually have to return to said profession, I will be excusing myself from the rest of the meeting, and that's why Councilman Escobar is here to fill in my place. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you, Councilman Johnson. Okay.
Number 33C, renewal of contract number 7535 between the City of Cheyenne and Blue Cross Blue Shield of Wyoming for third-party administrator services and group health insurance benefits for city employees, self-insurance fund.
Staff report, Mr. Haas.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and committee members. Darren Haas, Human Resources and Chair of the Employee Advisory Team. I'd like to make a recommendation to renew one-year contract with Blue Cross Blue Shield to serve as our third-party administrator on our self-funded healthcare. We're just wrapping up year 2 on self-funding. The contract renewal reflects a slight increase for the fixed administrative fees for the new plan. It's going from $58.20 per member per month to $59.95 per member per month. And then we're also including the added benefit. We think employees are really going to appreciate this, MD Live, where they can do a teledoc call after hours, call a doctor. So this has been a big request for years by employees. So we're able to incorporate that this year. And also include urgent care telemedicine consultants as well. So with that being said, that's my recommendation.
Thank you. Are there any questions from committee? Councilman White.
Madam Chair, through you, I just want to compliment you, Darren, on getting the MD Live option included this time. I know that employees have reached out and indicated that they wanted this for quite some time. So kudos to everyone involved in that.
I do have a question for you. I have had several phone calls from city employees about AMR being out of network, considered out of network by Blue Cross Blue Shield. And I'm wondering how we might go about, it leaves them with large bills, as you can imagine, when it's out of network. How can we go about making sure that AMR is considered in network versus out of network for our employees?
Through you, Madam Mayor, if I can call on Diana to talk with us a little bit, our benefit consultant with Novo.
Thank you. Diana Madvig with Novo Benefits. It's been a frustration point with us for a long time, and I know even working with the county to see if we could get AMR under contract at some point, and they have not been willing to come into the fee schedule that Blue Cross and Blue Shield feels is a comfortable and adequate fee schedule. And I do not know when we're going to run into a path to get that completely fixed. The No Surprise Act came into play this year. And when it did, that allowed us to at least look at it and consider in an emergent situation that claim would be paid in network. And then we could go through a subrogation process legally through the No Surprise Act, allowing us to at least have it go back to the employee, then potentially as an in-network claim.
Okay, thank you. I just know that it's a huge frustration and it leaves some of our employees with unbelievable medical bills that they're responsible for. Yeah, and they are a monopoly, so that does not help.
I agree 100% with all of your frustration over it. We have pulled our hair out trying to find a path into getting them in network. It's pretty bad when their CFO, I have her personal cell number. So we fought a few battles too.
Well, keep fighting. So thank you. Any other questions from committee? Any public comment? Hearing or seeing none, I would entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, I move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion from Councilman White, a second from Councilman Escabel. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, this item will move forward with a recommendation to approve at the next meeting of the governing body. Next item.
Number 33D, renewal of contract number 6837 between the City of Cheyenne and Delta Dental for group dental insurance benefits for city employees from various city funds.
Staff report.
Good morning, Julia Lebec, Human Resources Office Manager. The recommendation is to renew the one-year contract for the group dental plan through Delta Dental of Wyoming. The plan renewal does reflect a 4.5% premium increase, which would allow all diagnostic and preventive services to be excluded from the annual maximum benefit amount of $1,750 per member on the plan.
Okay, do we have any questions?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
can I Chris Jones, can you just take some quick notes for me for a quick minute, please?
Thank you. Any questions from committee? I did have one question. So we're excluding these items from the amount that individual employee would be expected to pay. But we're still showing an increase of 4.5%.
So Madam Chair, the preventive services and diagnostic services, they wouldn't be deducted from that annual maximum benefit.
Okay.
So it should stretch
Great.
further for
Okay,
those who
thank you.
require more.
Thank you. Any other questions? Any public comment? Hearing or seeing none, I would entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, I move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion from Councilman White, a second from Councilman Esquivel. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 And this item will be, go forward to the governing body with a, approve at the next meeting. Next item.
33C or E, excuse me, renewal of contract number 7523 between the City of Cheyenne and VSP Vision Insurance Benefits for city employees.
Staff report.
Good afternoon, Darren Hass, Human Resources and Chair of the Benefit Team. This is a recommendation for Vision VSP to renew. The plan reflects a 5.8% increase. We have not had one in years. This is the 4-year rate lock, so we won't have another one for 4 years. And some of the things, again, we heard the employees say this past year or two, we need to add the anti-reflective blue light lenses available. So we're incorporating that this year. And then the second one is the frame allowances have been so expensive lately. We need to up our frame allowance. The average cost right now is $195. So we're upping the frame allowance from $150 to $200. So again, listening to our employees, trying to capture the best package we can do. So thank you.
Thank you. Any questions from committee? Okay, any public comment? Hearing none or seeing none, I would entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, I move to approve.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to approve by Councilman White, second by Councilman Esquivel. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, that item will be moved to the next general council meeting with an approve. Next item, please.
Number 33F, renewal of contract number 7536 between the City of Cheyenne and Granular Insurance Company for stop loss insurance for city employees from Self-Insurance Fund.
Okay, staff report.
Good afternoon, Darren Hass, Human Resources. This is a recommendation for 1-year renewal with Granular. As with any self-funded plan, you have to have a good insurance policy behind that. And we'd like to go with, the recommendations go with the Granular. It's an overall cost of 5.2%, and that's on the expected claims. So again, we don't know what those claims are. It's a 5.2% over the expected claims that come in throughout the year. And I'll stand for any questions.
Great, thank you. Are there any questions from committee? One of the questions I have for you is, have we had to use this coverage during the last year?
Yes, we have. And with Granular, there's always a laser in there for a large claim. And we did utilize that large claim this year, unfortunately.
Thank you. Any questions from committee? Any public comment? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, I move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion from Councilman White, a second from Councilman Esquivel. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, this recommendation from the Finance Committee will be to approve at the next meeting of the governing body. Next item, please.
Number 34D, consideration of bid number S-10-24 for an agreement between the City of Cheyenne and Ryman Corp. for the Hawk Signs Construction Project from 2019 to 2022 optional 1% sales tax fund.
Staff report, please.
Madam Chair, members of the Finance Committee, Tom Cobb, City Engineer. Before you and for your consideration is the bid between the City of Cheyenne and Ryman Corp. for the Hawk Systems installation, both one at McCormick at Western Hills Boulevard and Moccasin, and the second one is at Pershing Boulevard and McCann. 2 bids were received, one from JTL Group and of course Ryman Corp. Ryman was the lowest bidder. The total base bid was $755,722.50. And we did put a 10% incentive clause in this one. So we were hoping to try to get these done before school. We did place that as an August 22nd, 2024 deadline, which totaled $75,572.25 for a total base bid for grand total plus the incentive of $831,294.75. Obviously, the completion is expected hopefully by August 22nd of 2024, but the second one, and if they don't meet it, is October 31st of 2024. There are three funding sources for this particular project. One, of course, is the federal TAP program from YDOT, that's Transportation Alternatives Program, in the amount of $542,940. We also are funding some of it out of the 1% sales tax, 19 to 22 for traffic and safety improvements at $284,256.60. And last but not least is the contribution from the Formac Foundation for an amount of $4,098.15. And with that, I'll take any questions you might have, but we obviously have reviewed the bids and we recommend wholeheartedly we move forward with this one and hope to get it as soon as we can.
Great, thank you. Any questions or comments from committee? Councilman White.
Madam Chair, through you, just really happy that we're finally going to complete this needed project. Very sorry for the reasons why we've had to discuss and improve on it. But kudos to the Formac Foundation, especially Mac's mom, because without her, probably wouldn't have gotten this done.
Yeah, thank you. Any other questions or comments from committee? And thank you for including the incentive so that hopefully we can have it done before school starts. Any public comment? Okay, hearing none, seeing none, I would entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, I move to accept the bid in an amount not to exceed $831,294.75.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion from Councilman White, a second from Councilman Escabel. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, the recommendation from the Finance Committee will be to accept the bid at the next meeting of the governing body. Next item.
Number 34E, consideration of bid number S-20-24 for an agreement between the City of Cheyenne and Simon Contractors for the Public Works Improvements Project. 2019 to 2022 optional 1% sales tax fund, the Solid Waste Fund, and Fleet Maintenance Fund.
Staff report, please.
Adele Bartel, Public Works Staff Engineer. Simon Contractors came in with the lowest bid at $2,377,017.25. They will be completing construction work for the fleet maintenance facility, traffic building, landfill, transfer station, street and alley facility, and city hall. I'll be happy to take any questions.
Okay, do we have any questions from committee? Okay, any public comment?
Vicki Nemechek, Public Works. I just want to say that we do not have the funds available in the facilities maintenance general fund budget to move forward with repairs at the municipal building. If you want us to move forward, we'll need funding identified for that work.
So just a clarification, Vicky, so the amount we're going to accrue today is less the amount that would
Well, if you want us to move forward, we need $124,140.50 identified so that we can do the work on the municipal building, which was requested by council members.
Can you say that number one more time, please?
$124,140.50.
And the total on this does not include that amount?
It does include that amount.
It does. Okay.
But we've put the facilities maintenance account there, but we don't have that money. Just wanted you to know that.
And I did have a question. So these items that are being done at each of these locations, is it primarily parking lots?
Madam Chair? Yes, it's mostly parking lots, just concrete construction and
Okay.
curbs. things like
Sidewalk,
that.
curb and gutter?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, any other questions from committee? Hearing any public comment? I don't see any or hear any. I would entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, I would move to accept the bid in an amount not to exceed $2,377,017.25.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion from Councilman White and a second from Councilman Escabel. My understanding is that if we are going to move forward with this, we need to identify a funding source for the got it right here, $124,140.50. Would we like to do that as an amendment? Yes, the treasurer is shaking her head, yes.
Yeah, the funding source identified.
It's gonna be reserved.
Yeah.
Okay,
Madam Chair, I'll move to amend this bid consideration to include $124,140.50 from reserves.
Second.
okay, we have an amendment to amend this to include $124,000 and whatever that amount is again. $140.50 from the reserve. Any, and a second, is there any discussion on the amendment? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, we're back on the main motion now. So any discussion on the main motion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? This item will move forward with a due recommendation of accepting the bid at the next meeting of the governing body.
Madam
Next,
Chair, I have for an emergency.
okay, thank you, Councilman Escobar, for being here today. Next item, please.
I know, it's right. Number 34F, consideration of bid number S-21-24 for an agreement between the City of Cheyenne and Spire Building Group for the municipal building restroom renovations project from 2021 Specific Purpose Option Tax Fund.
Okay, staff report, please.
Craig Lavoy, Public Works. Before you today is a bid to remodel the 3 bathrooms that we have on the first, second, and third floor. We received 3 bids. The low bidder came in with Aspire Building Group for $625,850. After a careful review, my recommendation is to go with Aspire Building Group for this project.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Mr. Lavoy? Councilman White.
Madam Chair, through you, and this is probably a dumb question, but I'm assuming everything is going to be ADA compliant. Just wanted to make sure that was noted.
Through you, Chair, these are all updated ADA and building code accepted.
Any other questions from committee? One of the questions I had was why? Why are we doing this when we haven't gotten the space study back and we don't know if we're going to be maintaining or keeping this building?
Chairman, the decision was made that these bathrooms were, during our environmental study of the building, were subpar. They were failing to exhaust. There were many failures, ADA failures, a number of failures, and the public in the city and the public view was very questionable. Whether this building is renovated into a new building or kept in existing, these bathrooms would still need to be done. So the core bathrooms will live through that study.
Thank you. Any other questions? Yes, Councilman Rennie.
Madam Chairman, I see that the funding source is the most recent. Special options tax. So is that correct? Is that out of the, can somebody explain?
Through you, Chair, yes, this is through the new 6-penny project that was to be used for the evaluation of the spatial study and in preparation for the new building to design.
Madam Chairman, then do we have monies left over from that bid? Since the study's not done, I guess that's my question is the administration comfortable? Because it seems to me the monies in the special purpose tax was to do an evaluation of the building and not necessarily to commence repairs upon the building.
And is that, yeah, Treasurer Lockman, do you have a?
Well, through you, Chair, the original 6 penny was for 2.5 million, and that included some upgrades for ADA, which this would follow under, and for the spatial analysis, and to do, after we get the spatial analysis, to do some preliminary design construction costs. We currently stand at about 2.3 million. That's with the analysis for the building coming out of it. After this project, we'll have roughly about $1.6 million remaining in that account to go into the 10% design phase, I guess, is for better terms of what this building could be after we do the evaluation.
Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Sure, it looks like City Attorney, do you have a comment? No, okay. Okay, any other questions from committee? Hearing none, any public comment? Hearing or seeing none, I would entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, I move to accept the bid in an amount not to exceed $625,850.
Second.
We have a motion from Councilman White, a second from Councilman Rennie to accept the bid. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 The recommendation from the Finance Committee will be to accept the bid at the next meeting of the governing body. Next item, please.
Number 34G, consideration of bid number S-22-24 for an agreement between the City of Cheyenne and Richardson Construction Incorporated for the Hitching Post Storm Sewer and Paul Smith Way project from 2019 to 2022 optional 1% sales tax fund.
Okay, staff report, Mr. Klon.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, Doug Klon, City Construction Manager. Before you today is the proposal for contract for the Hitching Post Storm Sewer and Paul Smith Way. This is a unique project. Typically, this is a developer's project, but due to some irregular circumstance, the city is now responsible to build this project. We did receive 2 bids, with the lowest bid being Richardson Construction. And that number is $1,693,498.45. Part of this project will be reimbursable to the city by future development based on their proportional share. We do not have the numbers of what that would be at this time because we don't know what those developments would be. So essentially, the city is more or less acting as a developer for this project because we currently have 3 projects under construction along Paul Smith Way that will need to use that as an access point. So that makes this a critical project. City staff has reviewed the bids and the project documentation for this project, and it's our recommendation that we move forward with approval of this contract.
Are there any questions for Mr. Klon?
Madam Chairman,
Yes, Councilman Rennie.
I like the maps we get on public service better. Where is Paul Smith Way? Is it over? Is it over by the former Hitching Post?
Through you, Madam Chair. Yes, sir, Dr. Rennie. It essentially was the drive approach going into the Ice and Event Center through the old parking lot, which will now be a city right-of-way street.
Okay, and Madam Chairman, does any of this fall under the area covered by the Urban Renewal Authority? And if so, would we recover some monies from that eventually also? Thank you, Seth. Yes.
Mr. Chair, this is Seth Lloyd with the City of Cheyenne Planning and Development Department. I can confirm this is in the urban renewal area that is out there. Such a development would be eligible for TIF funding, but there may be, or tax increment financing funding. But there may be some complications with appropriating those funds for this project. I don't know if Tom came up too, so he might want to speak on that issue. All I know is that yes, it is in the urban renewal area. Yes, it would be an eligible expense, but that doesn't necessarily mean it will be used for that process. So I'll defer to Tom if he wants to speak on that at all.
Engineer Cobb.
Madam Chair, members of the Finance Committee, trying to answer that, Dr. Rennie, this is, I'll say it this way, it's complex because we're trying to figure out actually whether to move forward with the development agreement. There's a new group that's coming in that are looking at trying to take over the assets of the former developer. So we may be looking at trying to do a development agreement that then specifies reimbursement for that particular group. Or we may look at just filing for reimbursement according to the municipal code. So I guess the third option is you could pursue the TIF option, but obviously in that matter, we probably wouldn't get paid back for over 20 years. So I'm not in favor of that particular option. I think I'm leaning towards the first two. I hope that makes some kind of sense to all of you. Sorry about that. Better explanation.
Any further questions, Councilman Rennie?
No, ma'am, thank you.
Any other questions from committee? I had a comment. The memorandum that we received shows that 3 bidders responded to the bid. And when actually, I believe it was only 2. Is that correct? So this may be an error, or did they just respond to tell us they weren't interested?
Chair, to you, TJ Bartleboard, Purchasing Manager. That was a clerical oversight on my part. I had too many bids to put on agenda and I got click and copy and paste happy making this memo. So there was only truly 2 bidders that responded, Richard Construction and Ryman Corp. So it was an error in my memo. I apologize.
Will we have this corrected by Monday?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Any public comment? Okay, hearing none, I would entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, I move to accept the bid in an amount not to exceed $1,693,498.45.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to accept the bid. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, the recommendation from the Finance Committee will be to accept the bid at the next meeting of the governing body. Next item, please.
Number 35A, request to amend a previously approved outdoor seating area for consumption by adding an additional area relating to City of Cheyenne Bar and Grill license held by Paris West Restaurant and Bar located at 1719 Cary Avenue, Cheyenne, Wyoming.
Staff report.
Madam Chair, Chris Jones, City Clerk. This request before you is, it's kind of 2-part, little history on it. We had a request for a sidewalk cafe, and then the applicant had withdrawn that and decided to use the parking area where she would not need the parking or the sidewalk cafe. Since then, after working through with the engineering department, we found a way to make that viable for her. So she's requesting that we also approve not only the parking lot area, but the actual front or sidewalk on I believe it's 18th Street, yes, so that she can have an actual sidewalk cafe. So this would encompass, so she'd be able to serve in both of those areas. So this is just kind of a formality for the governing body to approve that extra area for her. And she is here if you have any questions for her.
Okay, are there any questions from committee? Councilman White.
Just a quick question. Chris, in the memo, it says sidewalk seating on the north side of 18th Street on the side of Paris West. So isn't the south side of 18th Street?
But the north side of the building,
Yeah, the north side's by the church. Okay, north side by the building.
north side of the building.
Okay,
but
just
some
trying to
side-
visualize that and I saw north and I'm like, wait a minute. So, yeah, I completely support this. I think it's a great idea. Paris West has made such improvements to that area. Not only with the completion of the long-term stay project, but also with Paris West and just the lighting on that street. If you go down there in the evening time, it is 180 degrees better than it used to be. So yes, I completely support it.
Any other questions or comments from committee? I did have 2 questions. I wondered how this will impact the required parking by the planning department.
Madam Chair, I have to defer that question. I don't know if the applicant can answer that or maybe another member of staff.
Hi, Corey Lothry, co-owner of Paris West. So the parking and the parking lot seating. So you may notice there's a big concrete slab there with a rock, enormous rock. That'll stay. We'll work around there. So there's currently no parking there because that rock's in the way. So we'll make it some kind of table or showpiece and we'll just build around it.
So that parking area was not included when you got your building. The other question I had was, will you have some sort of I noticed that there's fencing shown on the north side of the building for that sidewalk seating, or it appears to be on this that we got. Will there also be some fencing around, at least the part facing Central Avenue and the alley so that we don't have people accidentally stepping into traffic?
So it is actually a requirement that if you're going to serve alcohol outdoors, it has to be fenced in. So both of those areas will eventually be fenced in.
Great, thank you. Those are my only questions. Any other questions from committee? Any public comment? Hearing or seeing none, I would entertain a motion.
Madam Chairman,
Yes, Councilman Rooney.
I move to approve the request.
I second.
Okay, we have a motion from Councilman Rennie, a second from Councilman White. Any discussion?
Madam Chair, before we adjourn, I just want to thank you for, today was kind of chaotic. I thought you did a great job. And thank you to Dr. Rennie for filling in on an emergency. Otherwise, we would not have been able to get through all the items today. So. thank
You are
to
so
him.
welcome, Councilman Johnson. So. Oh, all in favor, say aye.
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 Oh, this item will move forward with a recommendation to adopt at the next general council meeting. With nothing further being on the agenda, this meeting is adjourned.